I was going to start this video with a little bit of positive news and say the next video will be a driving video. We've got a full trip planned. But with the news of the new Victorian lockdown, I don't even know if that's going to happen now, which is like massive. It's really thrown a spanner in the works. So I don't know, what does that mean for me? Yeah, no trip, potentially no whatever else. And what does that mean for you? You're stuck with more of this crap. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is. At the moment, I don't really know what's going to happen, but yeah, this video is probably still going to be the same as what it always going to be. But yeah, the next video may not be a driving video. I don't know yet. Yeah, might be stuck with more of this. So anyway, today I've got to pretty much, the plan for this weekend was to get the car ready for the trip, and or as ready as I could be. So that meant to get the bar finished, which is, I got all my stuff from Chickerell Street Exhaust here. He's cut all this out, which is very appreciative because he's very busy. So not that all this has to be finished now before the trip, but the one thing I did need was the fair lead, little fair lead. So that'll weld in the, well, not like that, but sorry, that can stay down there. So that'll weld in the front. And then, yeah, the bar's ready for paint, pretty much, I think. I haven't touched it in so long, I can't remember. So, yeah, have a quick look over it, make sure it's ready for paint, weld the fair lead in, and then the bar's ready for paint. I did strip the winch down. I was going to video it, but then I forgot my cameras and I was flat out. So, yeah, I stripped down the winch to nothing. I had everything was all apart, all the grease out of it, everything was out of it. And I got a new bearing kit thanks to the guys at Roadrunner Off-Road. So yeah, all new bearings in the winch and fresh grease, cleaned it all up. 2 new solenoids, and yeah, checked out the motors, checked everything out, checked the brake out. Everything's sweet. So yeah, pretty much when it goes on the wagon, I don't really want to be pulling it back out to do maintenance. So I did design the bar so you could pull the end plate off each side, because that's how you access the gears. Unbolt this brake unit, unbolt the end plate, and it's just full of grease in there. So I designed the bar so yeah, pull the ends off and pack some new grease in there while it's in the bar. So, but yeah, also I've got the roof sliders to go on. That's got to happen today. And yeah, the car was going to go to McGill's at Chickerell Street Exhaust next week to get the roof rack mounted to the roof sliders, because it's going to be a different mounting system, obviously. And the snorkel bracket may need adjusting to suit the roof sliders. But yeah, with all these restrictions and that, I don't know what's going to happen. So anyway, I'm just going to push on. The roof sliders are going on. My car, I'll show you in a minute. I actually got my car back from the panel beaters. So that took a little bit longer, which is fine because it escalated pretty quickly. I'll see if I can, I'll put some photos in on the screen. Yeah, it escalated pretty quick. It just went in to fix the rust in the gutter so I could put the roof sliders on because I didn't want the rust to come back. And then, yeah, they pulled the windscreen out and found a little bit of rust behind the windscreen. And then, yeah, they seen the rust went behind the gutter and up in the roof, which was I was sort of expecting. If you could see the rust from the outside, generally it's way worse on the inside. So what they ended up doing was, yeah, pulling the whole roof off. Yeah, the whole roof skin came off and they rust treated it all, painted it all, and the roof went back on, sealed it up, and done all that sort of stuff. So that was actually really cool to see that they pulled the roof off and that the roof's fixed properly, because obviously, yeah, GQ's always rust in the back corner. I'd see it way too often, so I know that that's not going to happen to mine anymore. It does have to go back to the panel beaters at some stage to fix the sill and the back quarter. It was going to be at the start of March, but I've pushed that back now, and now that everything's up in the air, yeah, who knows what's going to happen. So anyway, it does have to go back to the panel beaters at some stage, which is fine. But that'll clean all that up pretty good. So the couple bits I've got here from McGill are the slider infills. These three, they fill in the sliders in between, because that's actually how my sill got punched in. A log, big log in Tassie, come up between the slider and got caught in the slider and then just punched the sill in. So obviously I don't want that to happen again, because one, the sill's getting fixed, and two, it just like punched the floor up and everything. Like, it was no good. So yeah, they're getting infills, which is cool. These are the wings for the rear bar out here. This long flat bit goes between the, on top. And then I'm gonna hand cut, because it was too hard to measure all these along the back. So hand cut them out. Yeah, fill the back section in, and then I've got tail lights and that obviously to go in. So, but again, none of that had to be done before I went away. I just needed the bull bar for the winch, just in case I got stuck somewhere. And I don't want to be running into, if you hit wildlife or whatever, need the bull bar. So yeah, this is the jerry can holder for the rear bar. The jerry cans are facing sort of lengthways out. Like, instead of having two across the back door, they're going to be coming out, which I don't really like, to be honest. It looks a bit pox, but I had no other option, because I can't fit a 37 on the spare wheel and then two jerry cans next to each other long ways. Like, yeah, there's just not enough room. And yeah, so they're facing this direction. So obviously two jerry cans that way, and then that'll be the back of the car. So anyway, he done a real cool design on that. I just sort of drew it up and then just said, just make it look cool, because yeah, I don't know how to do that stuff. So yeah, he made that look really cool. I'm actually very happy with that. And these are for the rear bar. So one of them will get welded to the chassis, similar like the sliders. One will get welded to the chassis and one will get bolted to it. And then that bit of tube will run to the wing in the rear bar there, just to brace them corners up. So if you hit a bank or whatever, it doesn't stove it in. And these little flanges will go on these bits of tube that go to the chassis to sort of halve them. Because yeah, if you run these all the way into the chassis at a fixed length, the rear bar is really hard to get off. You have to sort of tilt it forward and yeah, piss fart around, and with the stubs on there, hits the tail lights, and yeah, it's just yeah, pretty hard work. So I thought I'll just yeah, put a flange in there, and then I can unbolt this wing section to a point where I can just slide the rear bar off. So like I said, none of the rear bar or the sliders had to be done before I went away. But yeah, if we don't go away, obviously I'm gonna smash it all out and get it done. But one thing I probably should have mentioned, that the red winches run grease, like I mentioned, full of grease. So they run grease to lubricate the gears and that, where like a giggle pin or a worn high mount has oil. So a little bit different, grease, it's a little bit, who knows, it still works. It's just pretty messy if you gotta clean it all out. It's not as easy as draining the oil, but anyway, seems to work good. And yeah, if you had to change it out in the middle of the track, or you had to pull it off, then you don't have to catch the oil and refill it, I guess. It's only grease in there, so some pros and cons there. But anyway, that's the way they're designed, and they work. So, and I've also I got my wheels back and the machine, the center bore out. If you can see that, it's like next to nothing. Like yeah, it was only a couple mil. So that's cool. So yeah, I'll whip the tires back on the rim. I will actually show you one of them, not all of them, because it's a terrible job, but I will actually show you, because a lot of people ask the tire service to do this, but it's an easy job. It just is not a fun job. So it's real easy just to, yeah, I'll show you, it's real easy to do. Give you a couple hot tips how to get that done. All right, so tip number one, when you are fitting the beadlocks or any tire to rim, lube. That's just a bit of soap. And yeah, obviously work out, some tires are directional or have an inside and an outside. So yeah, obviously figure that out first. And obviously with the beadlock, you only have to put it on one bead. So it's the beadlocks are even easier to fit the tires to, like real easy. So yeah, obviously this side of the rim is the one you're gonna push through, because then on the back side is where you're gonna bolt it up to. So don't get confused and slip the wrong side in or whatever. And yeah, just forget that, just remember that you know, the way the tyre sits, this is going to be the back side of the tyre, the way you slip the beadlock, the rim in. So yeah, lube it up and then slip it on. I'll see if I can do this one-handed. So it's lubed up, get the rim, and obviously, yeah, like I said, the bolt side is the one you're going to be slipping through. And pretty much you just got to feed it in, like just peel it in like that. I'll see if I can get it on. Might have to boot it. Just like that. So it's as simple as that. That's how easy it is to get the back bead on. Obviously, the front bead's a little bit harder. I'll flip it over. We'll have a look. So obviously, if you didn't have bead locks, you would then have to, which I've done a million times before. We've always used tie levers as kids, so yeah, tie levers and just peel it on the bead. But that's probably the harder bit, depending on the tie and the rim. Yeah, it can be easy, it can be hard, but that's as easy as it is to slip that on and then start bolting up. All right, so the tyre still, actually I'll show you over here. The tyre obviously still has to seat over this lip, so the bead of the tyre seats in there. It can be, depending on your rim and the tyre again, it can be a little bit tricky when you're bolting the ring down, that one side might stay up and won't peel down. So you sort of got to start in the direction and sort of peel it in. Bit of lube always helps as well in this ring. And yeah, peel it down, which is, these aren't too bad. So I just, yeah, started on one side. I just put a bolt in and then opposing sides and then two on the end here and just sort of stood on it and just worked the tyre in and done these bolts up. So it's seated on that lip now, but obviously, we'll see if you can see in there. This ring has to be hard down to the rim. Yeah, so obviously the torque on these bolts is nothing. I think it's like 18 to 20 Newton meters, but yeah, don't get confused. Like if you're torquing them up, they may click, they may torque up, but the ring might not be hard up to the rim. So yeah, always check. Yeah, when you're done bolting them up, always check that ring is hard down. So once I'm at this stage, obviously the painful job, I did get some new bolts. So the painful job, putting the washer on them and then putting them in and starting them. So go all the way around, start them all, and then it will start doing them up. So once you have started all the bolts in there, yeah, obviously use one of these, but be bloody careful. And I just sort of go around one by one and just nip them up a little bit at a time. You might have to do 3 or 4 circles of it, and then that'll end up with this ring hard down. Because you don't want to sort of do it up one side and then the whole ring's on an angle and then peel it down. Like it's pretty hard on the inserts and the bolts and yeah. So it's just easy just to try and pull it down evenly. And yeah, that way, yeah, you don't end up with any dramas with the inserts, but then it's hard down. So I'll do that now. So I've just gone around and done them all up. So they're all sort of nipped up. You can run your fingernail sort of between the ring and the rim, run your fingernail around and you can feel, yeah, if there's any sort of tiny little gaps, like there's actually one there. So obviously it needs to be pulled down a little bit harder. But obviously, yeah, like if, you know, this spotty I can feel here. So this one obviously needs doing up a little bit more, but once you're at the torquing stage, don't forget if you torque down this one and it pulls the ring down, it's going to affect the couple around it. So when you torque them down, you actually got to do like, yeah, a couple rounds just to make sure they're all done up. But now that I'm at this stage here, that the ring's hard down pretty much, what I'm going to do is never seize the bolts because they're inserts. If you had one seize in there, you'd be in all sorts of dramas. So yeah, now that it's at this stage and it's all bolted down, I'll just one by one pull it out, never seize, put it back in. And like if you do it at the start, you can still do that, but you might end up with never seize bloody everywhere in between the the ring in the rim, or, you know, just never sees bloody ever makes a mess. So, yeah, either way, whatever, but this is the way I do it. That way, less mess. So I'm going to do that. Obviously, it's a little bit time consuming, but that's just the way it is. So this is done. Yeah, I pulled them all out and never seized them all, and then put it all back together. I mean, yeah, one by one, and then went around 2 times and torqued them up. And yeah, you can feel, run your thumb around. Obviously, you can feel it's all hard up. You can feel when you do it up, everything's hard up. So yeah, and that's as simple as it is. It's not like, it's more of a time-consuming job, but most tyre services won't do it for you. It's pretty rare to find a tyre service that'll do it for you. And if they do, they usually charge an arm and a leg. So yeah, it's obviously, yeah, a little bit time consuming, but far easier to do it yourself. And then if you want to get them balanced, then you just take them in to get balanced, and it costs you bugger all. But I haven't balanced a 4-wheel-drive tyre wheel in like 6 or 7 years. I don't worry about it. I don't use balance beads or anything. I've seen other people use balance beads and then pull the balance beads out because they suck. So I've never balanced the wheel, and yeah, they all seem to be sweet. So anyway, I'll jam this on here. See if we can do this. Wrong fitting. All right, we're good. Jam it on, and then watch the bead go on. If we can see that. Obviously a bit of lube on there helps from originally when you put it on. And when you're seating the bead, don't leave it flat on the ground. Not that I've ever seen it, but they do say don't leave it flat on the ground, because sometimes it takes a lot of pressure to pop it onto the bead, and then yeah, it can potentially flick the tyre up at you. So yeah, that's one thing I've learnt, but there it goes. No real bang because it does have lube on it. And yeah, that's it. So obviously I've got to do that 4 more times, and I'm not going to show you that because that sucks. I'm probably not even going to do it now. I'm going to do something a bit more funner. So yeah, that's one tyre done. So we'll get moving on some other jobs. All right, so I've been tinkering away. The fair leads all welded in. I had to drill and tap these couple holes. I never thought of anything that good to mount the number plate out of the way sort of thing. And I have seen people like get fined for putting them off to the side. So yeah, just center and front, easy, and yeah, just a couple of bolts in there. Drill and tap the 2 holes here. That's to mount the little bracket I've got for the solenoids on the winch. And yeah, so that's pretty much ready to go. So it's all cleaned up. I just got to obviously wipe it down with some prep wash and prime it and paint it. So that's what I'm going to do now. Well, the weather's probably not too bad, and I'm going to prime the roof sliders as well, and then that way they're all primed, and then I only have to grind back minimal amount where I'm welding. So yeah, obviously don't want them to rust out underneath. So I'm trying to do all that properly. So yeah, we'll prime all that. I'll paint the bar, and then yeah, then we're on a roll then. I got all excited and I forgot I haven't sanded it. How did I forget something like that? God damn it. So sanding, then prep wash, then paint. All right, so we are ready to prime. Yeah, it's been sanded, washed, and yeah, so pretty much prime. I'm only going to prime the roof sliders, obviously, and then weld them on, hopefully later on today. Might have to be tomorrow, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, we'll slap some primer on here and I'll throw these on time lapse. Well, the bar is painted. It's come up pretty good. Couple little runs. I accidentally put a bit too much thinners in the paint, so there's a couple little runs in spots, but yeah, feels nice. So it's good that that's done because I hate painting. So that'll be tomorrow's job. I'll actually bolt that on the car and the winch as well, and I'll test it out, run some rope on. and make sure everything works. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. So yeah, I've just been tinkering away with the beadlocks. Got 3 done. Obviously 2 left, but I'm fairly well over it for today. So yeah, I'm just going to pack up and go home. Finish at 2 in the morning, and obviously the roof sliders are here, ready to go in the morning. So first thing I'll do the beadlocks, and then I'll get stuck into that because yeah, I want to get that done as soon as possible so I can seal it all up. And I've got some cavity wax to go in behind it to stop any future rust and things like that. So yeah, that's first thing. Then obviously I'll bolt the bar and that on, and then whatever time I've got left, if I have any, I'll keep tinkering along with this stuff, because yeah, it's looking like I'm not going to go away next week, which bloody sucks. So yeah, what I'm going to do is finish all this so I can still go driving anyway, but get all this on, you know. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, so I've come out here this morning. I've been pretty busy actually. Kind of forgot to film this morning, but not that I've done too much. But yeah, all the wheels are done, ready to go on. Thank cross for that, because it's not enjoyable, that job. So yeah, that's good that that's done. And I've just put the bar on. So bar and winch is all on, looking good. Obviously it looks a bit poxed with the standard wheels on it, but anyway, that's yeah, at least the bar's on, the winch is on. I've just got to hook it up, and I could potentially test it, but anyway, I'll see how I go. And I've just clamped the roof sliders on, or one side anyway. So what I'm going to do is just mark where I'm going to be stitching it on, and then like pull it off and grind back the paint. So I'll grind back as minimal as possible, and then yeah, stitch it on. I think I'll have to run like a ratchet strap through the roof and around to clamp that on to get it hard up into the roof, because clamping it down, it sort of peels it away from the roof. So anyway, that is the next job on the list, so we'll get into it. I couldn't stand the side of the car on little wheels, so put the normal wheels back on it. Looks a bit better now. Now I can do the roof sliders. So I've just been prepping the roof slider. Obviously ground, like had it all up there, marked it all. So that's where we're running along the top. I think it's 50 mil stitch every, I don't know, it's like 300 odd mil or 250 mil. So that's probably the maximum that I would do, looking at that. You probably do a little bit less than that, to be honest, but anyway, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, you don't want to sort of go overkill, because if you ever have to cut it off, then it's a pain in the ass. So yeah, pretty much we'll just slap her on, tie it down, and make sure it's hard up, and then yeah, stitch it on. So ruining the good work that the panel beater's done, which I don't think I mentioned who done it. So it's Custom and Classic Revival in Moe, in Moore Street. Yeah, they done a real good job, and like the photo showed earlier, yeah, they had the whole roof off and fixed everything. Got blasted and painted on the inside of the roof, so yeah, the rust will never come back. I'll have to avoid putting too much heat into it to stop the paint burning off on the inside. Obviously it's going to happen to an extent, there's nothing I can do about it, but yeah, try and minimise it. So anyway, we'll get it up there and start welding it on. Alright, well that's one side welded on. Yeah, coming pretty good. I've just sort of ground them all back, so obviously I'm going to seal this and the top with Sikaflex, white Sikaflex. That just seals it all up. I did actually just then, let me find it. So I made a hose for the cavity wax, and then it's got this little nozzle on it that has like four ports. It sprays like in a cross pattern, so you know, obviously jamming it in the back. Managed to get it all the way to the front, and then come in from the front as far as I could, and yeah, cavity waxed that whole inside, which is awesome. So that's another thing. Last time I done it on my old car, I don't even remember priming the tube. So, you know, every like 2 years, it'd rust bubble in the joint here. It'd rust bubble, and then you'd have to wire wheel it all off, repaint it, and then Sikaflex it again, which is annoying. So I'm doing it probably now because eventually everything's getting painted by the panel beater, and I don't want to be grinding off good paint in the future. So yeah, obviously the tube's primed and cavity waxed all inside to avoid any rust, because obviously you can't paint on the inside where the welds were. Yeah, it burns off paint regardless of what you got on there. So yeah, anyway, that's one side. Obviously I've still got to seal it up with Sikaflex, and then I'm just going to pressure pack it white, the paint code white. So that'll just do for now, make it look all right. And then yeah, like I said, eventually the panel beater will paint that, but I'll do the other side first, and then yeah, Sikaflex it all up and then paint it all, which probably won't be today, to be honest, but anyway, we'll get there. And the other side's done. So yeah, exactly the same. I have actually, yeah, sort of ground it back and then just put a bit of primer over it. Cavity wax as well on this side, but pretty sure I need 3 coats of that cavity wax. And when I was doing it, it was sort of, yeah, coming out of this lip, obviously, because it's not sealed. So what I'm gonna do is seal it up with some Sikaflex, probably tomorrow night. And then once that's dry, yeah, I'll cavity wax it all and then paint it as well. So that'll get me out of trouble. So I'm obviously on a bloody tight timeline. If I still go away, I don't know yet. It's still up in the air. So yeah, I've only got a couple of days to get all this done. But I did get another cool thing done, which is, I'll flick this to 24. And then, if you listen, we have a winch. So winch works. I was hoping to run the rope on, but I don't have time and no one's here to help me anyway. So that'll be during the week. I'll run the rope on and just make sure it all works, obviously. And yeah, I'm also very interested to see how it works, because obviously I'm only running the 2 batteries are dedicated to the winch for 24, and in the race car it had 4 batteries. And yeah, I've only got 1 run of 120mm cable, so 1 power and 1 earth, and then I'm just put a jump wire between the solenoids. So again, I'm also interested to see how that works. I did buy an amp clamp, but I had to order it in, so it won't be here till like in a couple of days. But once I get it, yeah, I'm definitely keen to run the rope on and test out what amps it's drawing at here and at the batteries and sort of everywhere. Make sure it's all good, run the rope on, and then yeah, then we have a working winch. Yeah, obviously the light bar is put in as well, but that needs to be wired in, along with the 2 light bars that'll go on the roof. They need wiring in, but that's at a later date. I need to get the roof rack on before I go away as well. So that's another interesting thing I've got to do. But we will wrap the video up there, because I've got to go home and this week's going to be chaotic. So I probably won't film much after work. Not that I have that much to do. Nothing really interesting and worth filming. So we'll wrap this video up here. Like I said, I don't know whether the weather will be going away. So you might be lucky and next week's video might be a driving video, or if not, yeah, we'll be back in the shed trying to get this thing done. So yeah, I can go for it. I want to go, if I don't go away next week, yeah, sort of a couple of weeks, I want to head away for a weekend at least, and yeah, test it out on some hard tracks, test the winch out. So stay tuned for that. If you're a new viewer, make sure you subscribe, and yeah, the usual crap, buddy, like and comment. I know everyone says it, every single channel says it. It does help the channel out heaps, every like and comment, so that is appreciated. And yeah, even comment, let me know what you reckon of the new bar and winch setup, and yeah, the roof slider setup, and we'll see you on the next one.